They hurt you, America. Show me where they touched you on the puppet. This is the Daniel Natal Show. Now that the fateful November 3rd has finally arrived and the presidential election is upon us, we might do well to ask how we got here. More than just the struggle between Democrats and Republicans and the modern situations and policy disputes that have led us to this pass, there are deeper sociological and historical reasons for why things are happening as they are. One book that might give us a clue, might give us an insight into what's happening right now, is Eduardo Porter's The Price of Everything. In it, Porter examines how economics shapes our world, from politics to culture to consumerism, to offer a window onto how economics shapes our behavior. In terms of elections, he has a chapter on the price of a vote. Though it's taboo to talk about now, most countries in the world, even today, still have vote buying. This was very common in the United States, of course, in the 18th and 19th and early 20th centuries. You would have ward bosses offering apartments to immigrants, helping your brother-in-law get a job. They would throw block parties, and they would do this all on the understanding that they'd be able to purchase your vote. The average price of a vote back then was about $8, which is still probably the norm when you average in all the money collected in third world countries today, how much a politician actually expends to be able to acquire that vote from a particular citizen. In the United States, it's currently about $20. All the billionaires who are donating to slush funds and political action committees and doing commercials, when you average it all out, it's about $20 to be able to get somebody to vote for a particular candidate. And now what Porter does is he offers an interesting insight into how in the 19th century or 18th century, people actually got things for their vote. Whereas once we did reforms to get rid of vote buying, something strange happened. The corruption didn't go away. It just changed form. Politicians now denied the ability to bribe the electorate directly, had to think of a new way to manipulate the masses. Commercials are expensive. Radio spots are expensive. Messaging is extremely costly. So all the money that had originally been used to bribe the electorate and was spread out diffusely across the entire electorate, was now concentrated to an ever smaller group of media barons. And this had an effect, a very toxic effect, of the changing the politicians' relationship with the voters. Now there was this middleman, and they no longer were responsive to the voters or the voters' needs, but now they were bending over backwards to curry favor with these media oligarchs. Another book that bears upon this point is Tim Wu's The Master Switch. Tim Wu's book, like Porter's book, isn't fundamentally about politics per se. It's about technological shifts, the emergence of automobiles and the death of the buggy industry, the emergence of mass media and the death of old traditional newspapers. One of the things that he covers is the shift in influence as political machines had to recalibrate with the rise of mass media. And he talks about early media manipulation in terms of the Hayes-Tilden election back in 1876. We read of Western Union in the New York Times, quote, that they did what they could to throw the election to Hayes. It was easy. The AP ran story after story about what an honest man Hayes was, what a good governor he had been, or just whatever he happened to be doing that day. It omitted any scandals related to Hayes and declined to run any positive stories about his rivals, James Blaine in the primary, Samuel Tilden in the general. But beyond routine favoritism, late that election day, Western Union offered the Hayes campaign a secret weapon that would come to light only much later. Wu concludes, quote, the full history of the 1876 election is complex, and the power of the Western Union network was just one factor to be sure. But while mostly studied by historians and political scientists, the dispute should also be taken as a crucial parable for communications policymakers. More than anything, it showed what kind of political advantage a discriminatory network can confer. When the major channels of moving information are loyal to one party, its effects, while often invisible, can be profound. It also showed how a single communications monopolist can use its power not just for discrimination, but for outright betrayal of trust. End quote. Of course, in place of Western Union, the premier electronic communications network of the time, we have Google today. In place of the Associated Press or Reuters, we have the growing influence of platforms like Facebook or Twitter. This came to a head with Senator Ted Cruz questioning Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter.
Mr. Dorsey, who the hell elected you and put you in charge of what the media are allowed to report and what the American people are allowed to hear? And why do you persist in behaving as a Democratic super PAC, silencing views to the contrary of your political beliefs.
Let's give Mr. Dorsey a few seconds to answer that, and then we'll have to conclude this segment.
Well, we're not doing that, and this is why I opened this hearing with calls for more transparency. We realize we need to earn trust more. We realize that more accountability is needed to show our intentions and to show the outcomes.
What's more disturbing about the Twitter CEO than the fact that it looks like somebody tried to look up Rasputin on a search engine and it visually autocorrected to Jack Dorsey is the fact that in these hearings we see on display the aggression with which the legacy media is trying to protect its prerogatives and its privileges, through algorithm manipulation, through the silencing of conservative voices, to channeling people away from damaging stories to a particular political party, most importantly of all, to the censorship and deplatforming of citizen journalists. It's this fact, the democratization of information, that represents the biggest threat to the gravity well of money that has given the legacy media its power and prestige. So the developments that we're seeing now are very similar, have very similar parallels to the disputed Hayes-Tilden election, in which the mainstream media of the time helped flip the election from the guy who probably actually won it. So it does bear watching, and we will be keeping you abreast of the developments here on The Daniel Natal Show. The elites stink. They hate it when we push their buttons. Help us to push their buttons by pushing our buttons, the like and subscribe buttons. Also, don't forget about thenewamerican.com. Think of the magazine less as a newspaper than as a newspaper. You know, like the Greek nous, knowledge. Note to self, multilingual Greek puns don't work.